Hey, everybody, it's Janice Hermson. And what's the story? I'm here with Ed Knoll. Ed's
Hey,
got a
Dan.
beautiful view today.
It's a beautiful day here and yeah, got out in the yard.
Yeah, I hear the birds just chirping away there. So that's
They're
awesome.
happening. Yeah, it's a lower frequency.
That's funny. A lower frequency. I don't know about that. They're pretty loud. They're
Well,
taking you over.
I just have to keep up.
Ah, there you go. All right. So I want to make sure everybody that isn't goes to hermson.substack.com and check out what we have going on there. We announce what interviews we're going to have. I talk about different books. I try and update you on some current events here and there. There's not, he won't get bombarded with any kind of spam or anything. But like I say, when we have something happening, like today, we have Andra Douglas. I'm gonna have to find out if it's Andra or Andra. What do you think? Anyway, she has a book called Changing Cadence, and she'll be joining us at the half hour, depending on where you are in the world, right? So, yeah, that's what we got going on today. And be sure to subscribe, hermson.substack.com. And Ed and I come on here, yeah, about once a week at least, sometimes a little more often.
Yeah,
And
this book sounds like a combination of sports and real life.
really, yeah, she really talks a lot, as it says, friendship, football, and the art of transition. And tackle football was something she was very involved in, which is, I think, quite unusual for a woman. So,
Yeah, the biggest issue if she's a coach and all that stuff is so the leadership skills,
yeah, yeah,
right? Leading folks into battle. I mean, football is
that's what it is.
a
Yeah,
controlled physical game.
it's
And
true. It's very
anyway, I'm
true.
excited to talk to her today.
Yeah, yeah. I'm sure that you'll have lots of questions for her. So
Yeah,
I'm looking forward to that. And then, of course, it is the America's 250th anniversary, and there's lots of celebrations going on out there. We don't have anything particular planned, but we did purchase some 250th anniversary cups and some different things that we'll be offering to people. They're very cool. They're 15 ounce. They're not the 10 or 11 ounce. They're the 15-ounce ones. Sandy picked one up yesterday. She goes, "Look, I can put my whole hand in here." It was so funny.
those are nice. I was going to say, there's lots of logos about the 250th year celebration and things. It is so funny to hear that number after, I was in high school for the
Yeah,
200, right? So
yeah,
anyway,
yeah.
it's
Sure.
it's
Hey,
a
you're
little
aging yourself.
well, it's a little deja vu. There
Yeah.
was a spirit of patriotism and flag waving, and certainly the um, folks that graduated school in 1976. It was a big deal of their college life.
True, very true. Yeah, it's weird to think that I guess it's really not very long if you look at Europe, but for us, that's a long time to have maintained the concepts that we have and the our Constitution. I mean, it's just unusual.
So isn't it funny? And I was telling my son, um, just just big picture, right? So, I'm going to be 65. I did the math of this. I think it's 38%. I've lived 38% of our country's life. Right? I
That's
mean, that
true.
kinda adds a
Yes.
perspective that you go,
Yeah.
"Oh, man, those guys were way back there." Not that far.
Yeah, it's true.
Not that
It's
far, and
true.
so it's fascinating to just, you know, divide your age, by, 250, and you can tell how long you've been alive as a percent of our country.
It's very true. Very true. Yeah, so I was kind of scoping out different since our media has gotten so difficult with, if you look at the the pages, whether it's Bing or MSN or any of the different pages, they all are into bashing Trump, and that seems to be kind of the only thing that they talk about, right?
They're
And
angry and churn. They're
yeah,
angry.
and it's very hard to deal with. So I've looked around at different things and tried to find different access points for news so that we could come up with different things to talk about besides how mad the world is, right? And so I'm going to share my screen now and show you this page, which is the Straits Times, which I'd never heard of. But it's obviously covering world news and Singapore and Asia and different areas like that. So I just thought that it might be interesting for the audience to see what everyone else is talking about, which is mostly hantavirus. They also have the two men found guilty of spying on Hong Kong dissidents in the UK, and they were spying for China. I mean, you don't hear about that in our news, right?
Not now. They block it out with all the noise. I mean, the Epstein thing is like, talk about the like infinite distraction.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
mean, it's fascinating. And, I don't know if the listener, all of them know, but I listen to old time radio quite a bit, and the detectives, and there's a whole series, a show called The Great Story. And it's about famous news people. Most of them at the time were all employees of the paper who dug up stories before the police, right? There was, I mean, look at Superman and the Daily Planet, Clark Kent or the Green Hornet, right?
right,
I mean, he worked at a paper, all these places, and there was a credibility, a respect for that
right.
industry that they've pissed away, pardon me. And so if you just look at it, it's just degraded to the point where they're a Showtime. I mean, best I
Right.
know, we'd get more ratings at 6 o'clock on any night. I mean, it's ridiculous. And my mom listens to, you know, left news.
Sure, and
And
the
I mean, you just go,
traditional stations, yeah.
I just don't know how you can watch it without like losing your mind just from a negativity standpoint. It's just bombarding folks. It's, I mean, they're creating this they're contributing to the polarization.
Yeah, you're right about that. But I did find this story kind of interesting that these two men were found guilty of spying on Hong Kong dissidents in the UK, and they were spying for China. Um, because, like I say, we don't hear about it. So, a jury at London's Old Bailey Court was unable to reach a verdict on another charge of conducting foreign interference by forcing entry on behalf of the Hong Kong authorities into a home in northern England of a woman who has been accused of fraud in the city. But it's just something again that our media doesn't talk about. They don't share this information with us. And you would think that the only spying going on was in the United States, right?
So do you remember, as a kid, and when we learned how communist Russia was, and China, or what
Yeah.
we were told they
Well,
were.
mostly it was Russia that they talked
Well,
about.
right, what we were
Yeah.
told and
Well,
how they
yep.
responded is exactly the way we act now.
Hmm.
It's exactly the way. Everything's purposeful. There's no
Yeah.
joy for joy's sake.
No,
I
you're right
mean,
about
best I
that.
know, Disneyland's politicized, right? It's crazy.
It is. You're right. Yeah, and you would know, right?
Yeah.
Okay, and then of course they're talking about the hantavirus not being like COVID-19, and they're treating some patients in the Netherlands. So we don't hear too much about COVID anymore. I guess it doesn't suit their purposes to have us, be worried
Well,
about that,
it's
right?
the next scare thing.
Yeah,
But
it's
it's
true.
interesting being around people and traveling the past couple of days. Here, right, that's a rare, right, in Nevada, hantavirus is a thing, right? I
Mhm.
mean, you move in, they
Yes.
tell you about it, you know about it. I did when I moved there, and you're educated, however,
Right.
and, but here, they don't have it, and it's totally foreign to them. So when you have things like that, they're more afraid.
Sure. And they are now educating them. Asked about the fears the hantavirus could be the new COVID-19, Dr. Veldkamp said, no, it's not like that. It's not easily transmissible from person to person. So we know it's possible, and we suspect that's happened on the boat, but it's not like COVID. It's much more difficult. So she did decline to give the precise details about the patient that arrived at the hospital, but said the hospital was well equipped for those kinds of cases. Of course,
I
that's what
think
you have to say, right?
well, here's the
Oh,
thing.
no, we're not equipped at all. We're not ready for this.
They said the disease can't come out. I mean, potentially can incubate for like 5 weeks.
Oh, wow.
So best I know, they're going to have to secure those folks or keep them in their own space for
They
like
are. That's
6 weeks.
exactly, yeah, that's
For
exactly
6
what they're
weeks.
talking about.
And then
Patients,
it'll come out, and if they pass that time period, then they'll be able to go home or whatever. But I mean, the incubation
right.
period's so long.
Yeah, patients are kept in an isolation room, cared for by well-trained staff and strict disease control protocols. You wouldn't want to be one of those staff, would you? Our principle is that we simply good care. Oh, that's a typo. Simply take good care of the patient. We don't refuse to go into the isolation room. We're just well trained to do that in a safe way. In general, patients are kept as long as they show symptoms. When they're feeling better, they're tested, and if the test is negative, isolation can be lifted. So I don't know how that plays into your 6-week thing, but we don't know exactly how long someone can carry the virus, but we assume that once someone is feeling better, they're no longer contagious. Well, I don't think you should assume anything. I think that there
Well,
should be
that's
some
what.
tests.
Yeah. Well, right. It's that old thing. You know what assume means. Makes
Yeah,
out of you and
it's
me.
very true, very true. But I thought that was kinda interesting that, again, you're not hearing about here in the US at all. So, what else you got? You got anything that you wanted to talk about today? I got a couple other stories here if you want.
Yeah, no, I think it's fascinating too. I think there is a bit of a dilemma in the United States is I'm going to be 65 in September and I'll have Medicare, right? How many people put off retiring because of health insurance? I know about 5 now. um, because they could retire with their benefits, but they wouldn't have health insurance and they can't make it to 65.
Huh.
There's a gap there for
Is
many
is
folks.
there no well, maybe they don't, work someplace where they can transfer over
Well, if you're a
their
blue collar
insurance.
guy, like I
Yeah,
know a
yeah,
guy who
yeah.
worked 30 years of, manufacturing hard work, right? He's pummeled now, right? I mean,
Oh,
he's an
yeah,
older guy and he's virtually got to retire. He's got his years in and he's 63.
yeah.
He's gonna have to do Cobra or
Well, that's what I was saying, if they can do Cobra,
go
but
pray
that's
a lot.
so expensive.
Well,
That's
and
super
that's the
expensive.
thing, right? That's why people work. That's an
You are cutting
easier
out on me
task
there.
than paying
I
Cobra.
don't know where you went, but you
And so there's
disappeared
this
for a moment.
gap I'm
So let's
finding
talk
that's
a little
2,
bit
3
while we wait for
years
him to
between when
get
folks can
his
retire and when they
feedback.
have
We're
insurance.
going to
And,
talk a little
many
bit
folks at that
about
age are
the Supreme
already have
Court. I
stuff, right?
switched
I
over
mean,
here. I'm now looking at C-SPAN. I was looking for a story that actually covered about family and generational bonding because our guest is going to talk a little bit about that too when she comes on. But so let's look at the Supreme Court cases. It's interesting. Oftentimes, I have become a Supreme Court junkie. I like to listen to their audio streams that they play, and and hang on a second. I'm gonna actually. There he is. He's back. So anyway, I like to listen to their audio streams and hear how they discuss the different cases that are presented to them. And there's a lot of interesting Supreme Court cases that you don't think about. Remember, Ed, thank you for coming back in. We lost you for a little bit.
oh, sorry.
That's okay. I'm sure you were just talking away. I used to do that with my sister all the time. She'd be talking away, the phone would go away, and she'd just keep talking. That's probably
I
what you
was.
did.
I was. Yeah.
I did too. I kept talking, but I switched to talking about the Supreme Court because you went away. So I
Yeah,
had to
all good.
pull a topic. But we talked to last week. Oh, now I'm not going to remember his name. I'll have to look that up. And he's got this all the Supreme Court cases, worst Supreme Court cases. Remember that?
Yeah, you mean Evan Stewart.
That's it. Thank you so much. Yes.
C. Evan Stewart.
C. Evan Stewart. Yes. Yeah, he has a book about the worst Supreme Court cases. I wonder if these would fall into it. The Louisiana voting rights case, by a vote of 6-3, the Supreme Court ruled that Louisiana's congressional map was an unconstitutional racial gerrymander. The majority said that states can almost never consider race when drawing maps to comply with Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act. That's so interesting because they've been doing it for so long.
Well, right. All the lines go back to when, right? So, like when the states were founded at the very core with basic representation, and so back in the day, right, old time radio, racism was prevalent.
It
Racism, mental health people were in jail.
But in a sense, it almost has gone in reverse now, or had been before this ruling, because they were trying to make sure there were certain Black districts, and they were saying that Black people wouldn't get elected unless they had these districts, which was just not true. There was proof that that was not true, and there was proof that oftentimes in the Black districts they were electing white people. So obviously the people that live there weren't necessarily racist, but the people who were drawing the lines certainly seemed like they were.
Well, the only other way is just to grid states, right? But best I know, most states, there has to be a provision for them to add and remove areas, right? Based on population. And best I know, gerrymandering's a legal maneuver by whoever's in power at the time the population increase.
That's correct. And that's not going to change, but they won't be able to draw it on racial lines, and that's the difference.
So it's a ruling like school applications,
right? Yeah, and to me, it's just kind of frustrating that we don't just vote. I know politics is politics, but man, it just seems like get out there and vote for who you think would be the best one to serve us.
So I know, right, regardless of love, hate, or, whatever, President Trump, he's pushed the limits of the presidency beyond what other presidents have done. And so he's caused many decisions because he's taken gray area.
Right.
And so as these rulings move, through the years, all these are going to be really important because they're putting lines where there weren't any before.
Right. Yeah, it's going to be an interesting time, and what happens after President Trump is gone? What's the big thing then? And how do they? Because everybody's running against Trump, even though Trump's not running.
I know. Well,
what do they do now? What do they do afterwards? Mistake. That's what I want to know.
Right. I think the left's making a big mistake by hating Trump. I told Bayat the other day, I go, love him, hate him, whatever. He's a lame duck. Yeah. He's a lame duck guy who's going to be gone and can't get reelected. So his actions might be, different, as all lame duck presidents are, right? Because they can do what they want and the rest of the world be damned, kind of thing.
It's true. Yeah.
So, and that's what's going on a little bit too. And I think it's all big picture stuff. I think so we'll see what happens with Cuba, but everyone thinks Cuba should be part of the fold long ago. Yeah. Best I know, those people have suffered just because of what, happened to JFK. And, we should just unload containers of video games and I don't know, gas cans and American stuff, and they'd be converted, I think.
Well,
give them our toys.
Yeah. Here's a story. America 250, the role of Cherokees in the American Revolution. That's something I've never heard about. How about you?
Yeah. So there's lots of, because of gaming, there's all kinds of tribes I guess everyone knows about now. But when I was in school, like Ohio, there were Navajo, Cherokee, folks like that. You could find arrowheads as a kid in the dirt and trails growing up. And so, yeah, fascinating. But yeah, I'm
Yeah, well, that's apparently an
not,
actual video as opposed to a written story, so I'm not gonna be
yeah,
able
I'm
to share
not any kind of expert, but I've been exposed.
to the Cherokees being a part of the American
Yeah,
Revolution
to the
history.
Yeah, well, their whole history mostly, but yeah, there was a band just like Negro divisions back in the day.
Right. That's a word you don't hear very often anymore,
Yeah, well, you
right?
you do hear
Did
kind
I lose
of,
you again?
or
I did lose you again. Okay, so let's go back to that story that I had been talking about with you are back. Okay. Are you with me, Ed?
I
Okay.
am. I didn't
Okay.
think I
Very
left,
good.
but yeah,
Yeah, I know. You don't know when you leave, but you do. So, and then I guess Ted
there's an
Turner passed
advantage in
away.
there.
Yeah, Ted Turner passed away
I
at
saw
87
that.
years old. Yeah, it's true.
He was quite the unique individual.
He was. Yeah, I thought it was interesting the comments that Trump made and the fact that he said he was a friend and all of that. I'm sure there were a lot of people that maybe didn't know that.
Yeah, no, most definitely, and I think I go back to the Epstein thing, but right, he was like the Elon Musk of his time, right? All those rich
Yeah,
folks hobnob, right?
they
They talk
did.
about us little people, right? And they
Yep.
hang out and they know each other. And anyway,
All right. Well, it looks like our guest has joined us. So let me add her in here. Get rid of my shared screen. Hello and good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm well. How are you? You got a beautiful background there behind you. I'm not sure
Oh,
what
thank
that
you.
is, but
Oh, it's a gun cabinet filled with all kinds of memorabilia.
oh, very interesting. Very
Thank
interesting
you.
background. Yeah. And so we are speaking to, and I want to make sure I say your name right. Is it Andra?
Yes, that's
This is
correct.
Andra Douglas, and she's the author of Changing Cadence, Friendship, Football, and the Art of Transition. What a great combination of things. My goodness. This is like all phases of life, right?
True. Sure is.
so it's like
Yeah.
the Zen and Zen and motorcycle maintenance.
All right. Yeah. Yeah, that was a good one.
Yeah.
So, why don't you share a little bit about your background for our audience? Tell them kind of what started you on this path to being involved in as a football quarterback and then eventually getting into caregiving, all these different aspects. And I from what I read, the book is not your life, and yet it is. Am I correct in that assumption?
That is correct. It's it's not a memoir, but it is based on true stories.
Okay, there you go.
Yes.
All right. So tell the audience a little bit about Changing Cadence and why that was important for you to write and how it developed.
Well, I don't know where to start.
Yeah.
I always loved football when I was little. Always. It was just my dream. Of course, it was no, you're a girl, you can't play. So I moved to New York City for my second passion, which was art, and always played flag football because there was no tackle for girls. And then one day, my flag team was contacted by this group of people who said, we're going to start a women's tackle league. Are you interested? And we were like, oh my God, yes, we're interested. So this group out in Minnesota challenged my flag league to create one team, 40 women, full tackle. And they had the same thing out in Minnesota, and they brought their team to New York City to play our team. And we beat them 12-6. And after that, these guys decided to start an entire league of women's tackle football, and there were 11 franchises for sale. And ours, the New York Sharks, we were one of those franchises. But the caveat was you had to have an owner to be in this league, and an owner had to pay, X amount of dollars to get in to purchase this franchise. So, we were cocky New Yorkers. We just won. We were this and that, and we thought someone's going to step up and buy us, but nobody did. So I reached into my savings account and gave the people the money, and voila, I owned a football team.
Wow.
I never intended
that had to be a tough decision to make. I mean, investing in a business in general is risky and tough to handle, but this is like mega high risk, I would say.
It was incredibly high risk, and it wasn't because I wanted to own a business either. I didn't want to own a team. I wanted to play football, and so did
Right.
my friends. And the only way we could do it was for someone to buy it. So, but that thrust me into the category of business, as you say. And so the learning curve was incredibly steep. You have no idea the things that you don't even think of when you're starting a football team. The list is astronomical. So the learning curve was high. We figured it out. I had some good help, and more than that, we were playing football. And I had them for almost 20 years, and we ended up being the winningest and longest operating women's tackle football team in the world.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
So
something to be
fabulous.
very.
That start. Oh, I'm sorry, Jan.
No,
That
you go
start
right ahead.
sounds like, well, the male teams just years previous, right? A lot of those folks were owner players.
That's true. Yeah, I think back in the NFL when they started back then, it was, not even anything like it is today. So yeah, I think everyone was just wearing a lot of helmets instead of
Right.
hats.
Just trying to make it go. Yeah.
Yeah,
Awesome.
exactly.
So from the business side of that, because I'm an entrepreneur and I know the things that I faced getting into the publishing business, and it has changed and migrated into so many different things. What did you find the same thing? I mean, especially a women's football team is gonna, that's like uncharted ground as far as I can tell.
You're absolutely right. So, not only was it learning how to run a team, any team, it was a women's team. It was a women's tackle football team. So, we came up against a lot of obstacles. We always got the lesser fields. We got ridiculed a lot.
What about regulations and things like that? Because obviously there's some other factors involved, being a woman versus being a man, a tackle type situation. Were there?
You'd think there would be, but there aren't really.
Oh,
The
interesting.
difference is we use a slightly smaller football because our hands are smaller.
Right.
The rules are more NCAA. You only have to put one foot in bounds when you catch a pass, not two. There's no chop blocking. I think that's pretty standard. But other than that, it's the same as the guys.
That's really interesting. That's a fact I would not have. I would have made assumptions, I guess I would say. So,
Well,
Oh, go ahead, Ed.
I was just going to say how, oh, it's like your timing is early, right? Look at the WNBA.
Yeah.
It's taken 8 years, and likely your sport is going to take off sometime here in the near future.
It kind of has. Well, let me back up. When we played in that first game, this was back in 1999. There were three teams, two teams combined that came in from Minnesota, and then our team. Then there was the next year was the league, which had 11 teams. Today there are over 100 teams of women's
Wow.
tackle football across the country, and it's gone crazy in Europe as well. In fact, the Sharks were the first team to go abroad and play in the first ever international tournament, and that was in 2018, the Transatlantic Trophy, and we won.
Huh. I think that our media has done a disservice to us all for not sharing this information with us
Agreed,
more broadly.
100%.
Well, there's so
we were
much
just
value in. Oh, I'm sorry. There's so much
no, go ahead.
value in the sport. I taught my son how to tackle tasks by how do you win a football game, right? You get off to a good start, finish the half good, start off the third quarter, and finish strong. And
Yeah.
hopefully he's applying that. He's graduating from UNLV here in a couple of weeks. But no, I raised him on accomplishing things like how you win a football game.
That's perfect. You learn so much in sports, even if you don't play. You can use the analogy just like you did. Sports is just, I think, the best thing for young people and adults as well. You never stop learning, and the sports never stop teaching.
Very true, very true. And with all the controversy with women in sports, I don't know where that all fits into all of this, but
I don't know why
Well,
there's
mhm.
I don't know why there's controversy with women in sports, but yeah.
There used to be a lot. I think today, it's pretty cool for women to be in sports. I mean, when I was young and in high school and younger, I always thought I was being weird. So, I had to be weird so that all the girls today can be cool, which is great. But I mean, look at oh my God, the WNBA has gone crazy. Hockey, soccer. I don't think it's as controversial today as it used
as
to
it
be.
was, yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
I have a
cousins. Oh, I'm sorry, Jan.
I have a
But
granddaughter that has so many different interests in sports. I mean, she's basketball. I don't know if she's doing football at all. I don't know if any of that's available, but I'll bet she'd try it if it was there.
Well,
so I
flag
I
football
have
has
two
gone crazy.
I have two cousins that play, they're gals that play softball, right? For Ohio University. And
Oh, that's
yeah,
great.
the opportunities for gals are so great now.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think
that's true.
it's awesome. So let's go back to talking a little bit about your book and it- how did you decide, I like to talk a lot about process in writing a book. Everybody approaches it differently, and since that's not your area of expertise as far as, writing a book, how did you
Mhm.
approach this? What made you think you wanted to do it? Did you use a ghostwriter? Were you solely the one that did this, or, how did you go about it?
It's 100% my baby. And excuse me, I guess with the first book I wrote too, which is this is the second book is not a sequel, but it is does pertain to the same thing, which is the New York Sharks and my experience in the game. But I think writing both of these, it was just a story that had to be told. It gnawed at me inside. And what I did for years, and I do mean years, probably decades, things that would happen to me or to the team, funny things people said, funny things that happened, poignant things that came around, places we went, things we did. I would take notes and throw them into a big bucket, one of those plastic storage buckets. And I had little notebooks and everything. I have stacks of notebooks like this. And anyway, I threw them all into the bucket, and then when I finally sat down to write the book, and I can't tell you what prompted me, it was just time to do it. I started leafing through all of these things in the bucket and started to weave a story. And that's why I say it's based on a true story. The characters, some of them are completely fictional. Others, they're composite. The timeline may not be exactly right, but these stories, these sayings, these places, they were all weaved into the books.
So tell a little bit about the sequence of events in the book. Kind of give us some background on how the book starts out and then how you end up in the senior's home with family and all those things.
Well, in 2018, I sold the Sharks. but I negotiated to have one last year of owning the team. So, and that was 2018. So I announced that it was time, to go, and the team had been sold. We had one more year to be Sharks. And it was a storybook season. I didn't have to write anything. It did itself. Everyone showed up to play. People were dedicated. We got a great schedule. I mean, things just fell into line. Well, meanwhile, my mom had moved into assisted living down in Florida. I'm from a little tiny town in Florida. And oddly enough, when she moved in and you get to a certain age, that's where you go to the assisted living. Well, all of her friends, people that had known me all my life as well, moved into the assisted living. So it's like 7th grade all over again. So I was very close with my mom, and I went to the Commons, is what it was called. I went to the Commons very often. Probably every 2 or 3 weeks I was down there visiting my mom. Meanwhile, 2018 season was happening in New York City. So my mom and her friends decided to follow the team. It was their last year as being Sharks, and mom and her crew said, you know what, let's follow them. And and this is where, the story's a little bit embellished because the technology is not quite as good as it says in the book. But the assisted living people, the team named them the remoras. Do you know what a remora is? One of those little fish that sucks onto the side of a shark and rides around.
I know now.
Yeah. Well, the team called them the remoras, so anyway, the remoras would get on my laptop or the phone, whatever I had, and they would talk to the Sharks, before game for a minute, after game for a minute, things like that. And the two groups slowly got to know each other, and these unlikely friendships sprung up. And pretty soon, I was back and forth. I was in New York City with the Sharks, and then I was at the Commons with the Remoras, and all of their stories started to intertwine. And that's kind of what the book is about.
Okay. So your book has been called Laugh Out Loud Funny, and also tinged with melancholy. So how did you balance that humor with, we're all aging here in this room. I speak for me. And how did you balance that humor with, those heavier emotions that go with aging and letting go and still trying to reinvent yourself? I mean, it's complicated. How did you do
It
that?
is complicated. You know what? Just let it happen. Life is funny. Life is just really funny. No matter what stage, no matter what you're doing, you can find humor in it. And then I was around a bunch of people. The team is hilarious. I mean, I wish I could have captured everything they said and did, because I could write, 50 more sequels. And my mom had a wonderful sense of humor too, as did some of her friends. And so no matter what it was, whether the team was winning or losing, whether the Remoras were feeling good, feeling bad, there was humor in it. But at the backside of that, it was a little melancholy. It was our last season of being New York Sharks. Mom and her friends were aging. It was clearly the last stop for them. So you have to you can't dwell on the sadness. You got to just
That's a tough part.
Transition.
That's a very tough part. Yeah. As we, I remember my own mom talking about losing her friends, and I had said to her, Mom, you really need to get some younger friends so that, maybe that, it would be a little easier for you. Right. And it was so funny because, well, it was funny, not funny, because she says, so Jan, I did that. I found these friends and they're young. And this one younger friend that she was so close to passed away. And I was like, oh my goodness.
Oh no.
How awful is that, right? My recommendation went out the window. And but life is going to happen. And that really is the lesson there, right? That it doesn't. Go ahead, Ed.
I moved in with my mom She's 85, and I guess I need a football team.
Well, there was a time I could have provided one.
I think you're right. Yeah, he's been
But
in
yeah, it would.
Ohio for a
I
while now.
understand how it would help. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it gives them something to look forward to. And meanwhile, the players learned a lot about, elderly and the things that they need because they're left with their memory. They can't get out and play football
Right.
and drive here and there, and so
But it's a
it's
new thing. I think that's awesome because, well, the games are new, right? They're fresh. It's not something out of their past. You're living it in the present, which is something that's hard for them because their lives are in the past.
true.
If that makes any sense at all.
Yeah, it is. But well, as a quote in my book that I always go back to, you just do the best you can.
Yeah. Well,
So,
I know that one.
so what do you feel like writing this book taught you about that process? Did you learn any lessons from actually the process? And you say this is your second book, so in the process of writing the first or the second book, anything that you really learned or that it taught you about the process?
Um,
And that's an odd question, right?
well, I guess both of the books, in particular, the second one taught me to stay in the present. Be present because these moments are going to be gone. We're sitting here right here
Yeah.
today, and 10 years from now, we're going to think, oh God, I wish I could do that interview again. Today it will be the past one day. So just stay in it and enjoy it. Enjoy every single bit of it.
Yeah, you seem like you're quite introspective about all of this. As we're talking to you, it feels like you're being quite introspective about the process and having written the book and the whole aging and
Yeah. Well, it's no fun. It's no fun aging. I mean, there are some upsides. I can't think of any at the moment, but
oh, we're gonna have to give you some. We'll have to give you some so that you feel better about it all. Think of the alternative. I guess that's one of the upsides, right?
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
But you have also you've had such an interesting background between that, taking care, dealing with this whole thing with the aging population, and you're a Hall of Famer. You're also an artist. So talk a bit about your art. I think that's so interesting. The combination, you're such a big combination of things.
I am. I'm just a Frankenstein of a person. My artwork. Well, I've always loved art. Like I said, I gave up my dream of football to move to New York City, and I got into Pratt Institute for my master's, and from there I ended up as a VP and creative director at Atlantic Records, Warner Vision Entertainment, and I really loved that job. But that was to make some, earn a living, make some money. My artwork started as I love landscapes, things like that. But then one day I took my iPhone. This is how it starts. My iPhone, and I just started snapping pictures of the players. Sometimes they knew I was there, sometimes they didn't. And I'd go home because I wanted to capture their expressions, whether sad, happy, introspective, whatever. I started collecting all of these pictures of their faces. And then I thought, well, that's, it's got to be something else to do to these pictures. So there's a beautiful paper, it's bamboo paper, and I printed them out on bamboo paper, and then I overpainted them. I love painterly things. But I used these photographs and I overpainted them with everything from oils, pencils, shoe polish, wax. I mean, I did everything but throw eggs at these things. And I just started making a collection, and this collection, which I call Physog, which it means faces and expressions. This show has toured around several places, And that's what I focus on more nowadays is the this football series.
Well, I'm sure that helps to have the book to contribute to that
Yeah.
and be able to share it with people. So that's really nice. I always tell our authors that they need to have something else besides their book because, books only sell so many times to so many people. And if you can keep meeting new people and sharing your work with them, that's the way to get your book out there.
Yeah.
So you also, I wanted to ask you, my brain is going in 100 different directions. So what kind of advice would you give to the New York Sharks players? Or what do you think that they would say if the residents of the Commons could give them advice?
What do I think the players would say to the residents?
No, if the residents could give advice to the players, because the residents are now at kind of,
right.
saying bye. So what do
Yeah.
you think that what kind of advice do you think that they would give? Because obviously these Sharks players are going to have to transition into new worlds, new lives, right?
Yeah.
So what kind of
Oh, yeah.
advice do you think they would give?
I think they would. I know several of them would say keep your sense of humor. I also think what I always like to emphasize is to thine own self be true. It's very hard to. Well, I mean, I struggled liking sports, and yet I persevered. I mean, even though I went into art, I never gave up my love of sports, and I think to thine own self be true, be authentic, and keep your sense of humor because you're going to need it.
So through this journey of dealing with all these different players and people and being the owner of the team, you had to meet some really interesting people along the way. Are there any standout folks or personalities? Maybe you don't want to talk directly about people, but maybe personalities that stand out to you that were maybe a common theme within the different players during your years?
Well, one person, not a common theme, but one person I have to recognize is Billie Jean King. I mean, she endorsed both of my books, and she's done more for women's sports than anyone. I think her tenacity, her talent, her love of, sports and helping people. I have to mention her because she's definitely a hero of mine.
Absolutely.
Yeah. As far as personality traits, there's so many of them. I don't know where we've had so many people. I guess those who really stick with me are the ones who turn the team into a home. Sometimes they would need us more than we needed them. And those people kind of stuck with me because they got so much out of it. And they were sometimes quiet. Still waters runs deep. I think there were a lot of still waters. Some of them were hilarious. I mean, they should have been stand-up comics. The observations and the remarks were just phenomenal. But yeah, I guess in all of that, they were consistent. They consistently showed up. They consistently, contributed in all ways they could. I think probably consistency.
Nice. Very nice. Ed, do you have anything else you'd like to?
Yeah. Who's your current? I mean, do you have a favorite NFL team or a college? Do you support or root for your alma mater, or are you still a ACC Florida State fan? Or anyway, who do you like now?
Well, you nailed it for the college. I'm a Florida State fan. I'm a little embarrassed at the moment because they're just so abominable. but I will still
They'll
root
be
for
back.
the Noles.
They'll be back.
I hope. But we've been saying that for the last decade. They haven't had anyone there since Bobby Bowden that is a good leader. So I hope they'll find someone. But as far as NFL, I fell in love with the Dolphins when I was little. That was because of my dad. So I still root for the Dolphins, but I'm from Tampa originally, so the Bucks. And then of course the Giants. Always the Giants.
Nice.
So what's on the horizon? What's next for you? Is there another book, or where are you going from here?
Well, I'm back on the reinvention table to pick out something. I think I will write another book. It will not be football related. I think that last book, the last year, the last book was such a Disney couldn't have written it better. I mean, it was just, that part is true. It was our last year. Everyone came out, everyone participated. We won the whole thing, and then we go off to England and win that. So the next book will not be football. So yes, I'd like to write another book. I'd like to really dive into more artwork, expand on, beside the Fizog series, I'd like to expand on some other things. So
you've got a lot on your plate. You got a lot on your plate there.
Listen, I never get bored. There's just not enough hours in the day.
I'm with you on that. All right. Well, I want to, let me do a quick, I think I got rid of that. There it is. Hold on one second. I'm going to just share my screen here for a second. And then I want you to talk a little bit about where folks can get your book. There we go. So tell people how they can get your book. What's the best way for them to do that? And do you reach out to any fans if they write to you, or?
Oh, sure, I would. Yes, I do.
Okay.
Yes, you can find all of my art on andradouglasart.com. There's also a way to reach out to me there. The books are sold on Amazon, and there's also links on andradouglasart.com. The New York Sharks site is under renovation now. We're going back. This is kind of fun. We're going back and collecting all the historical moments, and we're putting them into, it's an archive, but we call them Sharkives. So the New York nysharksfootball.com. I think there's a little bit on there now, but it's going to really blossom very soon.
Perfect. Well, I shared that link for andradouglasart.com, and hopefully folks will get in touch with you. And we've really enjoyed having you on. We really appreciate you taking the time.
My pleasure.
All right. And hopefully we'll see you next time when you write your next book.
All right. Thank you, Jan and Ed. I appreciate it.
All right. Have a good one.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Yeah, all success. That's exciting stuff.
Yeah, she was a great guest. Great guest. So, yeah.
Yeah.
AndraDouglasArt.com.
Fascinating. Lots of stuff.
I know. I mean, I think that she's so diversified, and it's what people need to be in the world, right? Especially now.
Well, I did come up with a late question, but
oh, darn.
Anyway, maybe we'll get it another time. Yeah. So, I was going to say, when you're Cadence, right? She uses that in her title. Well, there's the hut, right? And quarterbacks tell players kind of what to do, and it's on 2 or 3. There's various things with Cadence, but it's also what do I want to say. So in male football, it's a male-dominated kind of thing. Did she throw in female nuance into Cadence? Right? There's things you could do that would be funny, but anyway.
Oh, that's interesting. See, that's something I wouldn't have known, right?
Yeah. Anyway.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. Maybe next time. Maybe we'll.
All right. Well, thank you, Jan. Really
all right.
Great
it was
gal.
good to see you. Yeah, it was fun. We'll see you again next time, and hopefully the audience enjoyed the interview, and get in touch with Andra Douglas. She'd love to hear from you. See y'all later. Yeah,